And to the role will pretty much. I don't even know if this thing needs to be its own sidebar, but it will pretty much just show. Um, it will show the roles like special stop, shit, special stop, special stop, and admin. That's it. So I don't think this warrants a role or a sidebar, but it's there. So we think we will just leave it. Interesting. And duplicates. What is this duplicate? In the original design of the system, this is actually not needed. Or I actually didn't think this was needed, but after contemplating it a bit, I figured this could be good because I don't know if it will be possible, but the registration will supposedly or preferably will have an ID verification. Because let's say the chance of someone having the same name, age, barangay, and whatever information is needed, let's say birthday, is very likely. That is not always 100%, but is definitely at least 30 to 40%. So this duplicate will pretty much take care of that, and we will be using something like uh wait, I forgot what it's called. It's something like monotok. Hmm, what it's called. Mm, where is that? It's called. We will be checking it in birthday and in phone number. It's pretty much a duplicate check that system do if someone is actually already registered, because we cannot just check it using the ID or the key, because if they log in or if they registered, what will happen is, let's say they inputted this simple name, let's say name, age, the birthday, I don't care, the birthday and phone number. No, we actually have no verification for phone number. We cannot really verify something like that. We would need an MCP. So, and we kind of do not have time to put that in. And the focus of this system is not the registration. If it was, we would put MCP here. MCP is pretty much something that can help you message people. Like say it is used in OTP. When you register to something like say Gcash, people will ask, it will pretty much ask you to input an OTP that they sent you. So MCP is a messaging system. That's it. Now, why do we need a duplicating system or duplicate system? Because let's say I put this thing here, put my name, my age. Well, what's my age? Birthday, um, 04, and phone is now. Let's say I inputted this thing in the system. What will happen is this a record will be created with this with an ID of let's say 1. Now, a system should be like this. But let's say, what if we inputted something again? All we did was, instead of 2, we inputted 3. Now this thing will become ID2. Now that's bad because the system essentially inputted the same person. Because I inputted this, it was the same person. The difference was I just inputted the wrong age. But the system treat these people as two completely different entities. And that's bad because it will cause the system to bloat. We do not want a bloated system because we do not really have enough resource to handle something like this. So the duplicating system is pretty much designed, or hopefully does it work, or what hopefully will stop something like this. The duplicating system will hopefully stop this. It does this by checking this thing and along with this thing. It has two checks. It checks the birthday, name, age, and other information, and it pretty much a combined check. If most of them are true, it will reject it, and so forth. And here's the dilemma with this thing, because this thing, as good as it is, it could do some also do wrong, because if this thing actually happened, and imagine I inputted this thing and someone else inputted this thing, two completely different person. And what if we have another one? Well, let's just pretend I inputted this. Let's say that's the problem of the system is like this. This thing will be stopped by the system because of this thing, the difference, or the same information given. This will be stopped by the system. And that's good. It should be stopped. But what if someone else did this? This is a completely different person. I removed the ID so that it is sign up. This guy is not registered yet. No. From what I explained on the top in here, if someone is duplicated that I just explained, it will bring the user back to really register it again. Now the problem with this that is that this guy is completely different from this guy. So the duplicating system makes sure that the same person cannot input or registered again. But it also stop people who luckily got the same information or unluckily got the same information as the other person, but this time they were also rejected, which is bad. So I need to make sure that the duplicating system of this whole system is actually checking more than just two things, because the chance of someone having the same information as someone else is very likely, and that's the current dilemma. So I'm kinda contemplating on removing removing this thing, because I do not want the other guy to just be brought back here even though he just applied. So the most likely solution is allow this guy to input this other guy, and once they input, it will be stopped immediately. Not the way they cannot input again. And we could also do a IP check. If the same IP has inputted the same information in the last 5 minutes, they will be rejected immediately. but that's I don't know if that's viable. Yeah. So that's the strength and the weakness of our duplicating system. In the barangay, this is just listed barangay, and the barangay will show the information of applicants number in it, the average skill from each barangay, or the top skill. Same with municipality, but this thing will just show all the barangay under it. I mean, this thing is actually mostly for Catanduanes. But for scale, we will just make it right now. Application management. Um, this just viewing all the people that encoded in or registered in the system. And actually, the plan was application management and duplicate will be the same thing. But we want to separate this because so that it's clear because the amount of people that can potentially registered would be up to hundreds, and that would be hard to maintain, especially with a system like Laravel. Shit. No. And the skill will just show all skills that was registered, and most of this sidebar will pretty much just show um, dashboard in analytics. It will not be it is made like this currently because the client didn't really explain what he wants. All he said was he want a dashboard that show this and that and something to register. Generate report. This was our idea because it was from an interview. We He said that they are constantly or periodically send reports to Dole, which then um, what that use that information for whatever purpose that they are needed. User management, these are just the PESO stuff and activity logs. That's obvious enough. And user just registration. And these are the DB design. We got the user, the application, the barangay, the municipality, the skill category, skill application, role and activity log, role user education. Let's start with the easier one. User will have email, name, password, and is active. It's the same as what I said before. This user will have an relationship with role user and educate what and activity log. Actually, they will also have relationship with education, but that would depend on the client if they want to register the information of their employee, like what they put in the what they put in DS will also be registered there. But that would be on their accounts. That's why we will not do it for now. Now, let's go with the role first. The role here would be the title and permission, what they can do in the system, whether they can delete, edit, and so forth. It will be a simple. This is called a special pivot. It's pretty much a many to many, a table that was created for many to many. It holds the user ID and the role ID, and that mostly it. I mean, it was done like this because this thing would be, how do I say this thing? the permission of this thing is very much editable. Meaning this permission part can change. We can add, let's say, we created a role of, let's say, what would be, let's say, edit stuff. Now, edit stuff responsibility would be mostly, let's say, editing only. They cannot create, they cannot delete, only editing. And this is the title. Then the permission would be edit. That's it. That, and we will just connect this thing to the new user that was also created, or we can just edit the existing user to have this role. Simple. Now that's the explanation part. Why we made it many to many? It's because we want this thing to be scalable. We don't. We can imagine that they want different user for different things, and the best way to handle that thing is to just make this thing very um adaptable. I will say. No. Applicant has relation with, where is this thing? The education, the applicant, and the barangay. The education relationship would be one to one. This thing. And now let's talk about skills. Now, why was it made like this? From my meeting with the client, they want something like skill category, like tech, agriculture, finance, or construction. It's pretty much like the higher level of skill. Let's say we have web dev in here. Let's say, or no, let's say tech. This, whatever. Let's say we have a tech data here. What will happen is that this thing will reference that tech, because what, let's say, what this thing would be is web dev, web dev, and of course web dev goes under tech. Software engineer goes under tech. Product manager goes under tech. And let's say their skill is carpentry, then that would go to construction. Or let's say their skill is gardening or farming, then that will go to agriculture. That's the purpose of this thing. Okay, that would be one too many, because tech can have web dev, software engineer, whatever it is in tech, or a engineer, and that will be the sub thing. And there is no reason to do this thing. Like, we actually do not need to do this. We can just put skill category here. But we are actually gonna use this in aggregation for the skill management thing. So, and since this, we do not really want this thing to grow too much, we we, we can just put this thing in here, because the way we will design skill is by, the way I will design skill is by having it encoded pretty much. What they will do is they will select the category of skill, and there will be a drop down. a drop down of what we will input in the seeder. I will just use GPT for it, but they also have an option of creating their own skills, and that will be encoded in this skill table. And we will actually use that for oh my god, we will use this that as a skill in the drop down. I cannot explain it clearly. Just this thing has a capability to be added. This thing would most likely be created by the seeder. That will be updated in the future. And this thing is a hybrid of seeder creation and user creation, so that the register can or the user can just create their own skills, which would be monitored by the admins or the PESO staff. And skill applicant is separated again as a special pivot. It will connect the skill ID because this thing is already connected to this thing, so we do not really need to put it here. Applicant ID in the PQF, which is the profession skill profession or how good they are. This would be like intermediate, beginner, mid intermediate, or expert. And obviously, it was done like this because this is simply the fastest route or the best route for not incurring anomalies like update and delete. Because if this thing updates for some reason and we put this thing here, then that would cause all of them to be scanned even if one only needs to update. Same with here. We, you might think we can just put skill professionally in here. But the thing is, if we did that, it will actually have the same problem of the duplicate. Like this. Like this, it will have the same problem. Not the duplicate part, but the creation part. Just because this thing is different, it created an entirely new record. And it's just one thing different. And we do not want that in skill because skills actually is mostly the same for everybody. Either they're web dev, they're carpenter, designer, it would be the same. And if we just put this thing here, it means this thing will keep creating record after record after record. And because of the unique constraint, this thing will pretty much get rejected. Let's say the skill category would be in designer or graphic, yeah, in design. The skill category is design. The skill name is um, brand design. Yeah, brand design would be the name of the skill, and we put this thing here. And the level is, let's say, expert. Now, think about when someone else registered with design as the category, and the skill name is the same as brand design, and their skill level is also high. Then that thing will get rejected because it will be considered as duplicate by the system. Wait, that's wrong. That's the ID part. Yeah, it will be considered duplicate because we will actually be putting unique constraint in this name, making sure that the same name would always can never be changed. So the user will be forced to search the name and select it instead of creating it. And it was put here because this thing can change anytime. This thing will not introduce any anomaly like delete or update anomaly, even a rating anomaly. It will not introduce something like that. And the only thing difference is this thing. So this thing can be one, and this thing is the only thing different. It's also the best thing for searching because this is just one of a very scalable design. Everything is separated enough because if we just put this thing in one table, it will have the skill category, the skill name, and the PQF. the applicant. Now imagine if we update something in there, then all of those things will have to be queried or scanned by the system, and that's too big. Because in here we are only really if we update the skill name from design to designs, we just put an S, then all of all data in here that has design in it will be changed, and that would actually be because of the unique constraint on this thing. That would probably be only one or two things, and this thing will not even move because it's just referencing the ID or referencing the ID, and only this table will actually be moved by the system because that is what we are updating. And if we delete something here, we just do an either on delete or restricted on delete. And it's that simple, although I cannot explain it fully, but the gist of it is there. And the same in here, this thing was made because again municipality can only be really the same thing. If we put that thing in here, then the potential of someone just creating their own is very likely. Even if we just put enum in it, that would be too big for a system or an enum. So it would be better and scalable to make it a table instead of just making this thing an enum. Enum is pretty much just a data type in SQL that only this thing can be inputted. Yeah, like high, low, medium. Only that can be inputted in the system. In the name, it's the barangay name. This thing is actually unique too. That will It's a one-to-many relationship, meaning one municipality can have one or okay, what the fuck am I saying? One municipality can have many barangay. Okay, this is like backwards. One municipality can have many barangay. I don't care. And it's the same for this thing. One skill category can have many skills. And this is our many-to-many relationship along with applicant having to many-to-many. Meaning, one skill can have many skilled applicant and one applicant can have many skills. But that will be left for the design right now. This is what we will pick for now. But maybe in the future we will just do it as one to many. But the better is many to many because one applicant can have many skills, and we can intend to do that, but with a limit of three, so that they don't just input every skill that they know. Okay. Now for the system design of this thing. In this system, we need to think about now that the groundworks for this system is this is just the peso stop side or the capstone. The peso capstone. This is not the design that I want, but this is the capstone. Now this thing would need I imagine this thing would have we need to think about the scale of this thing because there would be a lot of write in the system. We need to think what database will support too much write and not much read. In here is mostly writing. Mostly write, and in this thing it's mostly read. And we pick relational database for this. We pick relational databases because in terms of if we are to create a system, that has quite complex dashboard, then we can all then relational database already have an inbuilt or a pre-built function for it that will help us in aggregation. And I don't really imagine this thing putting anything like pictures or anything. All that will be put here are pretty predictable. So relational would be the best. DB DB is relational, and I think we will use Postgres because it's just the most secure and the most customizable among all the relational database. The stack would be Laravel. We will use this for interactability. The backend will be Laravel and the view would be the front end because we will be creating a lot of custom front end for this. Also, I kind of wanted it to challenge myself. And now I need to think about the load balancing part because let's say this hmm, we will actually be hosting this thing in Hostinger, but we still need to handle everything else like load balancing and the server. Let's say for now let us just model the Catanduanes. Let's say in Catanduanes there would be mm, per month there would be 10 no that's too low 100k people 100k people that registered or people that want to apply for a job. Just over exaggerated, but it's better if we do that. Now, imagine that this thing hits the TV. Now imagine 100k people in Catanduanes hits the TV at the same time. There are people reading, there are people writing, or people that register or the best staff editing something, creating something, then that would be too much for one server. Now, that's why we need to put something like a load balancer. Just make sure that this thing, oh wait, now, what happens is, when some user here, most of this user either create, read, or update, it makes sure that this thing handles all the load and it just pass it to this thing to be done. Let's say one guy in here or 100k people just wants to um, register, then it will go here. That will take the load, then go here. If it's just one person, we can just remove this thing and just directly go here. But imagine this type of people doing it all at the same time. One thing cannot just this server cannot handle all that alone because 100k people doing different things. And this case is already overloaded because it has to scan everything, update something, read something, all those stuff, and it will be overwhelmed. So we need something like load balancer, just to because all of the requests will come here, and this thing will one by one give it to here, then give it back, and this. This makes sure that all load is catched by this thing first, and this thing will balance the load or slow down to give it to this guy, then this guy give it to this guy. It's just simple. This is just good for load balancing. Now we also need to think about what kind of multi-tenancy this thing is. I will not go too much about that because I have one in here. Multi-tenancy is a shared DB. We got multi-tenancy A, multi-tenancy B, and C. A is shared DB and shared table. It's like this thing. And then multi-tenancy B is a shared table or a shared DB and but different table. It's like this thing. And multi-tenancy C is just different different database. Meaning like this. Let's say these are client 1, client 2. We can imagine them as municipality. This is municipality of Catanduanes and Tabaco. And those things two will have its own DB. And that's good for separation and maintenance. It's not good for actually improving the system because we will be managing two things, but it has a lot of benefits to it. But from what I can tell about this thing, um, we will actually just use one DB or multi-tenancy. We will use multi-tenancy A for this, and I'm kind of rushing because do not have time anymore. I just have another video that explain what this or how to do all this thing, but we kind of need to think about caching because in this thing in here we are actually going to do a real-time duplicate, a real-time oh my god, a real-time duplicate check. Meaning, as the user is inputting something, the system needs to be checking if this guy is gonna hit the duplicate or gonna make the duplicate true or not. So this thing needs to load or mount the information needed for the duplicate. And I think it would be better if we just cache this thing. I mean, that's not really needed because the user will only really log in one time, then that's it. So I kind of need to contemplate that thing. And the architecture style would be, oh my god, is monolith. Monolith. And later, I will again, I will design the DFD, the use case, the context diagram for this, so that we can easily create the indexing. Indexing is, I already explained it in another one. I will not just repeat it again. And but for now, I think what we will index here is simply like um, what we will be using in the aggregation or this thing. Anything we use in here, let's say the barangay, the skills, the birthday, all of them will be indexed. Think of index as a way for the system to find something faster. I think it was called cardinality. I have my own rules, but I will be responsible for the backend for this thing. But for now, this is absolutely just prototype, and I will improve it later on. Also, what I said about the system design of this thing is pretty much lacking and still need more. This is pretty much just the database design prototype, the UI part, and this is just the stuff. It's not fully explained, but I will do that in the future. I have no time now. I'm busy.